You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Pepsi Prebiotic Cola in original and cherry vanilla. That Pepsi taste you love with no artificial sweeteners and 3 grams of prebiotic fiber. Pepsi Prebiotic Cola. Unbelievably Pepsi.
From Joe's mom's basement, welcome to another Greatest Hits episode of the Stacking Benjamin Show. Hey everyone, I'm Griffin the intern. How are you liking our special 5 days of podcasts? It's been fun reaching back into the archives, especially yesterday with Rachel Robertson. I'm still feeling cold after hearing her Antarctica stories, which is fine. It's about 110 degrees in Texarkana today. So, what's on tap for today's episode? We'll pivot this time to our sister show Stacking Deeds, where we talk real estate with budding investor Crystal Hammond and Joe Salciai. On this episode, originally recorded earlier this year, we talked about some epic lessons about real estate, negotiation, and working with people with the founder of REMAX, Dave Liniger. There are so many lessons in this interview, and in the headline segment as well. If you haven't heard Stacking Deeds, you're in for a treat. No reason to be interested in real estate either. Dave has lots of common sense advice for our stacker community. As I mentioned, this episode originally aired on Stacking Deeds late this winter. Enjoy the episode. I'm back with one more tomorrow. Finturn out.
Live from the back of Ruth the Realtor's car, it's the Stacking Deeds Show. I'm Ruth the Realtor's part-time mechanic, neighbor Doug, broadcasting live from the spacious recording studio in the trunk of her '88 Lincoln Town Car. On today's show, what skill do you need to lead a group of people toward real estate success? Leadership. And man, do we have a leader here to teach you that skill. REMAX Co-founder Dave Liniger. In our headlines, we chat about the state of Airbnbs and if guests get the warm and fuzzies when they walk in. Plus, we'll answer a call to Ruth's Rotary phone from Aimsley, who wants to avoid being over-leveraged, under-leveraged, or inter-leveraged. We've got answers. And, of course, your ears will sing when I pop in later with my property pop quiz. And now, two peeps who wish they were riding in a DeLorean so they could go back in time and buy more flux capacitors. It's Crystal Hammond and Joe Salciai.
Well, howdy there. You know, it was this funny meme that the person said, man, when I was 2, I wish I was buying real estate instead of learning how to walk. So going back in time, we'd be buying flux capacitors.
I can learn how to walk on all that sweet passive income that I'm making.
You know?
Walk on all those dollar bills.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Stacking Deeds Show. She's Crystal.
Condo Crystal. Yeah, welcome.
How are you, Crystal?
Wonderful. My project is still traipsing along very slowly. Didn't make it to zoning yet, but that's just another delay for another day.
You did get some good news on the off week. By the way, people that don't know what Crystal's talking about, you've got an amazing project going on the south side of Chicago.
Yes, I am building 5 fourplexes, and it's a labor of love. Most days want to cry, but we are going for some grants, and so we've been invited to apply for one. So that's been very exciting. So send me all the good vibes because I've been hearing a lot of no's lately. So that was like one yes that I was like, yay, someone believes in us.
What's that line? It's going so well, you sleep like a baby. You wake up every 2 hours crying.
Oh, that's a good one. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm feeling that.
Not great. Well, the good news is we, during the off week, were able to lasso in a phenomenal leader in the world of real estate, Dave Liniger, going to join us, Crystal.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to being in the presence of greatness. I mean, of course, with you and neighbor Doug, but
stop. Keep
even
going.
more
Stop,
greatness.
Dave Liniger, of course, is the founder of REMAX, and he's a guy that sucked at real estate when he started. So a great guy to learn from, to teach you that you can do this. You can do it, Crystal.
And you can be the greatest. All you have to do is keep going, keep at it.
But before that, we've got a headline that's inspired by a late night TV show. So let's get moving.
Hello, chaps. And now our Stacking Deeds headlines. Cheerio and pip pip.
Our headline today comes to, this is something I don't say very often. Our headline today comes to us from Saturday Night Live.
So you know it's funny. It has a 50-50 chance of being funny, actually, because boy, is that show hit or miss these days.
I think you're being optimistic when you say 50-50 chance.
Okay, 30, yeah.
Wait
30,
a minute, guys.
70.
I just got to point out, when I was in high school, I remember people going, oh, Saturday Night Live isn't like it used to be. And now those same people look back at the things that were on when we were in high school, like, remember how funny it was? And then when I was in college, people were like, it's going downhill, it's horrible. And then when I was in my 30s, and then I was in my 40s, like, I feel like this SNL downhill.
Well, either that or the group of people who find it funny are always about 14. And, and as you get older, it just gets worse and worse.
I
got to say, I've found it the last couple of years to be really funny.
Yeah, some skits are hilarious, but it is. It's 30-70 on that funny scale.
I think we all just have selective memories. Like, we remember the good stuff, and it's,
True.
You know, you just keep throwing stuff out there. I saw a statistic on comedy. Why are we talking about this?
So anyway, so we got a headline
on the back burner.
I saw a statistic on comedy, though, and they actually looked at our comedians and people who people think are, quote, funny. Are they actually funnier? You know what happens? People who people think are funny actually just crack more jokes per minute. And generally speaking, for the most part, are not funnier. They just try more often. They're out there doing it. There's a real estate lesson. Just keep doing it.
Well, and also for dating, because some guys, they cast the wide net. We all know these guys that they will grab the hand of every girl that walks by. There's like, listen, one of these is going to look back and say, oh, you're hot. It's a numbers game. I agree.
Don't touch it, Joe. Don't say a word. Don't. That is the third rail of podcasting topics. Just leave it.
No, but see, you guys you're not women, so you've never been in a club and some random guy just grabs your arm when you're walking by, and then when you turn around and
assault,
look,
Crystal.
No, they don't grab it. It's like a brush up against, and you look back to see who just touched your arm. And then if he's cute, you're gonna be like, "Oh, hi!" But if he's not, you're gonna make a face and keep walking. But I'm amazed that's never happened to you guys.
That went bad right there at the end. You had me till the end. I do wonder how Mrs. Neighbor Doug got caught in that trap.
Here's the lesson I took from that. Brush up against all women.
Always. No. Man, are we way off?
No.
We are way
Right.
What are we doing? This is Saturday Night Live talking real estate, Crystal. Let's give it a listen.
Bland.
Generic.
Downright uninviting.
If these are the vibes you're going for, then we're your girls.
Because we're the nation's #1 interior designers for
Airbnbs.
I'm Chanel.
And I'm Channel.
And together, we can make your rentals pop with plain furniture and art for nobody.
Art pieces like
Albert Einstein with his tongue out.
black and white child holding red balloon. And of course, a single unsettling photo of the family that actually lives here. Why stay in a hotel when for basically the same amount of money, you could stay in a place with worse sheets and a camera in the toilet?
But our designs aren't just beautiful, they're also functional.
That's why we'll make sure your listing has an impossibly complicated lockbox, 700 K-cups,
12-page packet on how to take out the garbage.
politically ambiguous artwork, and of course, a foreboding locked closet labeled owner stuff. Do not touch.
Still not sold? Just listen to one of our satisfied customers.
Before Chanel and Chandler decorated my Airbnb, it was a little drab. But now there's some writing on the wall.
You may already know us from our work on Cozy Casita Steps from LAX.
And the Wonka experience in Glasgow. Still don't believe us?
They keep going, but I think it's funny. I mean, the reason it's funny, and Doug, you've got this look on your face like you've never stayed in Airbnb.
No, that's not true. In fact, I just got done staying in one a few weeks ago, and I'm thinking, damn, I should have looked in the toilet, because everything else they've said is exactly spot on.
It's so spot on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cliche artwork, impossible lockbox, 800 K-cups.
Yeah.
And a 15-page manual about how to take the trash out. It's funny, Crystal, when people criticize Airbnbs, these are funny because they're cliches, because we've all stayed in this Airbnb.
Yeah, and it's true. It is funny. One of my travel groups that I'm in, there's at least a couple times, there's like an Airbnb complaint thread. And a lot of times it's the cleaning fee and all the instructions. It's like, dude, I don't do dishes all the time and I need to like wash my dishes. And do you trust someone else washing the dishes? And then the bedding, the taking out the trash, the how you leave the place, how you enter the place. It is. You need a degree in order to decipher Airbnb instructions.
We should get a marketing pro on the show, because Alex Harmozy, one of my favorite people in the world of marketing to follow, Alex Harmozy talks about how the best thing to do when you think about marketing, what people want is not like 15-page instruction on how to take out the trash. People want to give you money and then do nothing. And if you can make it feel like I give you money and I do nothing and I make things easy and I start from there, psychologically, you want to make it seem like that. And what are they telling you? They're telling you there's all this resistance, right? The sheets are worse. So that's easy to fix. The 15-page manual, that's easy to fix. The impossible lockbox. How about the black and white kid holding on the red balloon? Everybody knows exactly what picture we're talking about. Why would you have that in your rental house if every other rental house has it?
And it's the picture is really what weirded me out, because you don't want to think about, you know,
picture of the family. Yeah.
And then you're sleeping in someone else. It's like you're seeing the people who live there sitting on the couch. And that's something you just don't want to think about.
Yeah. Comedian Jim Gaffigan has a piece about mattresses. He asked his audience, hey, does anybody want to use mattress? And the whole audience kind of goes, ooh. He goes, oh, yeah, right? Hey, let's all go stay in a hotel or an Airbnb.
It's the same thing.
We're like, oh, yeah, I'm in. That sounds great. That sounds like a vacation.
Well, when you put it that way, it's gross.
It is a double standard, but you think about it, it should be even grosser, Crystal, in a hotel.
Yeah, you definitely don't know that level of cleaning is different. But I did notice that you talked about the ways to fix that can be fixed with the cleaning fee, because I know you just need to include all that extra stuff when you're paying the cleaning person. Because I know another one of the complaints on the groups was that Airbnb can't touch the cleaning fee. That's why cleaning fees have been going up, or they're so expensive. But yeah, I think that's one of the reasons is because they're doing like a lower booking charge, but the cleaning fee is like outrageous because Airbnb doesn't get a cut of that. Yeah. I didn't know that.
And that cleaning fee is sadly what is most annoying to potential customers.
And they need to include that on the freaking booking, not, when you're looking at price like, oh, $20 a night. But yeah, they don't include
I noticed I just got done. Like I said, a few weeks ago, stayed in an Airbnb for a week, a little over a week. And yeah, the initial price pulled me in, but pretty quick, I will give them this, or the website this, that pretty quickly after I said, oh, that looks like the house for me, the total price did show up.
Okay.
And it was a little over, when you added in all the fees, it essentially added on like a little more than one extra night. So if you were staying 7 nights, it was like an extra night. And it was a bit of a surprise, but I kind of knew it was coming because everybody talks about it.
Right.
But then the following weekend, I needed to find a place to stay just for a couple of nights. And the same thing happened. But what I noticed was that for a shorter stay, it really did not make sense versus a hotel, because at the hotel, I get coffee, I get breakfast. For a shorter stay, I was going to be in this place for like 38 hours. I don't want to have to go to the store to take care of all of that stuff from my Airbnb, which is far away. So the shorter stay for me did not make sense in a combination of the added fee. Plus I don't get all of the cool stuff that's sitting in the lobby of the hotel.
Longer stay, more people. Yeah. If I've got multiple people want to stay in one spot. I also found that when I was traveling Europe, that Airbnbs were better priced than in the US.
Interesting.
Just regionally different. Huh. But this is funny, Crystal. There are all kinds of ways to think about pricing your Airbnb to avoid friction. I mean, this whole Saturday Night Live piece is built on the friction that people feel around Airbnbs. We feel creeped out like there might be a camera.
In an Airbnb before.
Well, they recently had the new regulations that there are no inside cameras allowed at all. So I guess now you need to buy one of those infrared trackers to know if there's cameras in there.
Yeah, I just don't think about it. I think if anybody wants to see this guy naked, go for it.
You like that. Well, but another complaint from the group, now this has been turned into like an Airbnb complaint. Well, not necessarily a complaint, like Airbnb and VBRO. Most people, they were both owners and stayers. Sometimes they've noticed that some people will pay more because they have their same property listed on VBRO, no difference, but they'll pay more because they perceive it as a better value, which is also interesting. So that can be another thing, is to have accounts on both and look up the address.
Yeah, we actually had the opposite on our trip to Alaska. VRBO is less expensive than the same listing on Airbnb. So I looked at it at Airbnb, and then I went to VRBO, and I was so surprised to see the same exact property and much less expensive at VRBO. I actually reached out and asked the person, I'm like, I found this on both. And he said, yeah, at the time, the VRBO fees, he like better and just like the platform better. But I think there's a big lesson here, Crystal, to wrap this up, which is that the best battle's the one that you never fight. And that's a little thousands of year old takeaway from Sun Tzu, The Art of War. And I think in this case, if you take this Saturday Night Live piece and you go, how do I get rid of all this friction that they're making fun of? You're going to make it a better stay. You're going to have repeat guests. You're not going to have to worry about marketing nearly as much.
Agreed.
Coming up next, Dave Liniger is truly a pioneer in the world of real estate, because when he got into the world of real estate, not only was he horrible at it, he also didn't like the fact that he was doing all the work and splitting everything 50-50 with people that weren't doing a lot. He founded a new way to do business. People told him would not work. Now it's called REMAX, one of the biggest institutions in the real estate space. He also served our country in Vietnam and learned a lot from his time in the military. He is a heck of a guy, and I'm super happy we've got him coming up. But before that, time for the pop quiz.
Sure is, Joe. Hey there, Deeters. I'm Ruth's wrench-wielding repair guru, neighbor Doug. And since today's guest is a leadership legend in real estate, it reminded me of a great leadership mentor in my life. I'm talking about none other than my wrestling coach at Southwest Bahama State Technical Institute and Beauty School. Yes, Dr. Schweikert demonstrated true leadership way back when he let me rent out the bed of his 1970 GMC pickup after I got kicked out of my dorm room for smoking fish. Apparently, not everyone likes the sweet smell of carp in the morning as much as moi. Listen to how selfless Coach was. As long as I gassed it up and kept it washed and waxed the white wall tires, Dr. Schweikert let me sleep in his pickup for, listen to this, only $100 a week. What a giver. And during hurricane season, like a great Airbnb host, he even let me crawl under the back porch of his house to stay dry. God, he was truly a beacon of light in my life, now that I think about it. Hey, speaking of finding a place to stay when you're in a tight spot, do you have any idea what Airbnb means? I mean, like, seriously, why'd they name it that? It's really weird. Hey, let's make that today's property pop quiz. For the third time, geez, you really got to listen, people. Where did the founders of Airbnb come up with that crazy name for a business? I'll be back right after I Google Dr. Schweikert to see what he's been up to since I graduated.
In business, there is no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. And when you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, The last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on, because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else, your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS Ground Advantage. We mean business. I had a breakfast mentoring meeting yesterday with a young woman who was just amazing. She is graduating from college with a degree in wealth management, and she reached out hoping for some pointers. And listen, if somebody's in Texarkana and wants to go into this beautiful field of personal finance and helping people get their money together, that is incredible. But even more incredible is how she reached out, how she was trying to network. And I was having a discussion that finding the right person and avoiding the wrong person for a role, that's what can make or break an organization. And we just don't see that many qualified people. So how do you find them? Well, Indeed Sponsored Jobs is a boost whenever you need to find quality talent. If you're hiring, Indeed is all you need. You can stop struggling to get your job post even seen on other sites. You'll match with quality candidates with Indeed's Sponsored Jobs. Get matched with and hire quality candidates who can drive the results you need. Reach candidates who meet your specific criteria like skills, certifications, or location. It drives me crazy when I'm matched with all kinds of people who aren't a fit. I don't have that kind of time. People are finding quality hires on Indeed right now. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 95% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all the boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Job. And here's what's cool, Stackers. You're going to get $75 in sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support Stacking Benjamins by saying you heard about Indeed right here at Stacking Benjamins. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Great news, Deeters. We've been able to grab a deal just for you through our partner, Hemlane. How about 20% off this invaluable tool? You heard us talk about how much we love it. Now you can get 12 months for 20% off, but you got to act like right now, Crystal.
Yeah, act fast, because one benefit you can give yourself is better property management. You will sleep sound with better property management. And we've mentioned a ton of property management softwares that are out there, but let's give people 3 reasons why Hemlane is different, Joe.
First, software alone doesn't really solve your problem, and that's why Hemlane's property management provides 24/7 repair coordination. That's right. You can either use your own service professionals and plug them into Hemlane, or you can tap into their licensed network. By the way, notice how I said licensed network?
Yes. Hemlane definitely knows who you should go to for help. But second, many of you are investing out of state, present company included. So
my son,
which we still need to have on the show. You keep promising us this. So Hemlane connects you with licensed leasing agents and other tenant placement services to help you find and place a tenant.
And thirdly, Third already. Hemlane's ranked number 1 by Gartner with a 4.8 star ranking out of 5 in their reviews. When I'm looking for food, if it's 4.5 or under, Crystal, I'm not going near that place.
Same. So you can manage your rental properties with 100% transparency and control. Those are 2 very important things. Without the administrative work through Hemlane, they offer everything from advertising your rental to over 30 rental websites to automatic rent collection. And they collect late fees. That way you don't have to listen to excuses. You just automatically collect those late fees.
So here's the deal, Dieters. We've been able to grab just for you a deal with our partner Hemlane, and this goes away at the end of March, which means you've less than a week to get this done. How about 20% off? You know how much we've talked about how we love it. You get 20% off the next 12 months, but you got to act fast. Talk about over leverage. You can leverage these great tools for less money. Use code Bloom, the number 24SD, Bloom 24SD at checkout. That's Bloom 24SD, and you get 20% off your next 12 months of Hemlane. 2 ways you can do this. You can go to Stacking Benjamins, our sister show, stackingbenjamins.com/Hemlane, Hemlane, or Crystal, it's at the top of our Stacking Deeds site.
Yep. There's a menu right up top.
stackingdeeds.net, and you'll see Hemlane at the top. Just click that, then use code Bloom24SD at checkout for Hemlane. Goes away the last day of March, so make sure you do that this week, Dieters.
Hey there, Dieters. I'm Caribbean camper and back deck burrower, Ruth's mechanic, neighbor Doug. During the break, you were probably asking yourself, why the heck was the wrestling coach a doctor? Well, there's a simple explanation for that. Dr. Schweikert's wrestlers frequently ended up with injuries, so he decided it'd be easier if he learned how to fix dislocated shoulders and broken fingers on his own. He also learned how to bill the government for all of it from the Bahamas. We'd spend Saturdays learning the value of teamwork and discretion while helping him shred documents. We'd even have drills in case the feds showed up. He taught us that nobody would ever find you hiding in the short bed of a Chevy pickup. Side benefit, memories of that make the trunk of this 88 town car seem like a gymnasium. And speaking of finding a place to stay on short notice, remember today's property pop quiz question? How did the founders of Airbnb come up with that crazy name? Turns out back in 2007, 2 San Francisco roommates noticed that nearly every hotel room in the city was booked for a conference. They had an idea to charge $80 to sleep on an airbed in their apartment. You see this now, Joe? They're just totally sloshed, drinking their Heinekens, and they're like, I bet we can rent out this airbed. Anyway, 3 people took them up on it. Shortly afterward, airbed, one word, airbed and breakfast was born. They soon shortened the name to Airbnb, and now it couldn't be easier to rent someone's house and have hidden security cameras watch you do God knows what in their bedroom. And now, let's get Ruth to pull over so we can pick up Dave Liniger, who's about to teach us about leadership.
And I'm super happy we have him here. Dave Liniger's with us. How are you, man?
I'm good, Joe. Nice to talk to you.
Well, I'm super happy you joined Crystal and I. I want to get to the perfect 10 because that's the way Crystal and Mom and everybody else describes me, as the perfect 10, of course. But the thing on everybody's mind that's listening, Dave, whether they're real estate investors or real estate professionals, we got all this litigation going on right now, and there's a lot of real estate people wondering about their commission. Where do you think this is headed?
You know, it's a interesting trial that they've got started, which now has copycat suits all over the place. For 50 years, the realtors agreed to not price fix. And in price fixing 50, 60 years ago, you had to charge a specific commission to go on the multiple listing service. The Justice Department came in, put some heads of some large companies in jail. It was a wake-up call, and all of a sudden, they started training everybody about, well, it's a negotiable commission, and nobody can tell you it is different than that. The take on what's happening now is the split between the seller's commission and the buyer's commission if you're using a seller's agent and a buyer's agent. And traditionally in this industry for probably 20 or 30 years, the buyer often doesn't have the money to pay a commission. The buyer, especially first-time buyers, are struggling to find a 5 or 10 or 20% down payment, and then to pay for the commission is very difficult. By the same token, the seller usually has appraised and approved the value of the property, and when they decide that they're going to pay a commission, they often have set it down. They'll split their commission with the buyer's agent. That helps the buyer get in, helps the buyer pay a higher price. The litigation now is that the attorneys are saying that's illegal, because if a seller would not pay the buyer's commission, all the seller would have to pay is maybe half of what they've been paying, even though they signed agreements to it. The philosophy of it was, if the seller's agent pays a lower commission to a buyer, the buyer's agent's going to show properties that they can get a bigger commission on, and that's called steering. And so how this case has come about over 6 years is that they've basically sued National Association of Realtors and the largest real estate networks out there. We looked at the trial, a copycat trial, then in Chicago, then in Boston, and now dozens and dozens of them coming out every place. And so we looked at the liability. We tested the theory. We felt there was no liability because REMAX couldn't be part of a conspiracy to join into this antitrust act, since when we founded the company in 1973, we had a requirement. You had to be a realtor and you had to follow the code of ethics. The lawsuit says that 5 or 6 of the biggest brokers and NAR got together 6 years ago and decided to make that a rule, that you had to be on the board of realtors and you had to follow the code of ethics. And the code of ethics set forth how you split commissions between buyer and seller. And so I was not part of a conspiracy. None of my agents have been, but we put, whatever it was, 20 or 30 million in 6 years coming up to the trial. And at the last week before the trial went forward, we felt that we could win. We had an opportunity when the plaintiff's attorneys decided to negotiate. We came to a suitable settlement that was less expensive than trying 2, 3, 4, 5 more trials. And it proved to be a good idea. The plaintiffs were happy. The judge was happy. The Justice Department was in the attendance, didn't complain. And so basically, we took ourselves out of this. How's it going to end up for other people? I don't know. The theory of there was a conspiracy and there's a meeting, nobody has any proof of that. And then they've taken a step forward and said, only antitrust case in history that just the National Association of Realtors having a code of ethics was enough to say it met a meeting with every realtor in the country, which means every trade association has the same problem. So the only problem is they lost. The rest of the defendants lost $1.5 billion, treble for pecuniary damages, $5 billion plus. And so to appeal to the next higher court and prove that there was no meeting, et cetera, you have to post a 10% bond, which is $500 million. So it's a nightmare.
That's a lot of money.
Attorneys getting rich the old-fashioned way. Attorneys and realtors have always been kind of adversarial, So I don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
It will. There's a possibility that it still won't be settled 5 or 10 years from now. And so who knows?
I noticed, Dave, you and I have similar hairstyles. Is it lawsuits like this that made our hairstyle come to this point?
It was age, period.
Well, a couple of young guys like you and I don't know. I want to begin with this. I find it fascinating. You talk a lot about reading in The Perfect 10, the importance of reading. But at an early age, you were reading Louis L'Amour novels. And we've got some of our Dieters that don't know what Louis L'Amour novels are. But I was like, that is really cool. Can you tell us about Louis L'Amour novels and why you fell in love with those?
Well, I was a kid, and the novels usually were Westerns, and it would occur that something disaster, Indian uprising, outlaws, they come to town, they kill the family, the kid survives, and he's uneducated, no schooling, and then you follow the book along. And the books were written in a almost very elementary style of a young child telling his own story. But by the end of the book, decades have passed. He's gone through the College of Hard Knocks. He's now a sheriff or a governor or a lawman of some kind, and he's very sophisticated. And so it kind of tracked my world. I went to a rural school in Indiana, farming community, went to college because my parents said I'd go to college. I had no idea what I wanted. I didn't study. Mommy and Daddy weren't there to tell me, open your books and work. I discovered girls and parties and beer and that sort of thing. And after a couple of semesters, I gave up on it and said, hey, this just ain't for me. And the war was on. I joined the Air Force, ended up serving overseas several places and times. It gave me 6 or 7 years to mature, become a little bit smarter. I got to observe real leadership, real heroes. And along the line at age 19, even without much money, I decided I was going to buy and flip a house. And I did. And I made money. And so the goal then, despite overseas tours, was that I would become rich buying and selling houses and then apartments and so on. And it ended up by my early 20s, I did have 21 single family houses. And I got a real estate license not to sell real estate. I want to save the commission on my investments.
Get rid of the fees.
The end result is the die was cast. I started selling real estate. I was very, very good at it. And then eventually, 3 years into the business, moved to Denver, worked for 6 months to get a broker's license, started REMAX. And 51 years later, 110 countries, 140 some thousand agents, number one in sales volume, et cetera, worldwide.
And then you got on the Stacking Deeds podcast, which was like the top of the mountain.
Boom,
There you go.
right.
Finally, somebody called.
Thank you.
That's right. I want to dive into all of those things, Dave, because there's so many points I think that our beginning investors need to know, and people beginning as just professionals in the real estate industry, which is so entrepreneurial. You, when you talk about rural Indiana, you were in, I believe, Marion, Indiana, which is down the road from where my cousin lives in Fairmount, Indiana. So just up the street. In fact, Crystal, my cousin, was the high school football coach in Marion, Indiana, where Dave grew up. And boy, that team lost like no other team, Dave. They lost some more.
Like no other team.
But what I found interesting was all the things that had to do with self-discipline in your book. And at an early age, you went after karate. Can you talk about karate and how that kind of helped shape future Dave Liniger?
Well, I was an adventurer at heart and watched all the movies, and I wanted to emulate John Wayne and Kung Fu and anybody else that was out there. And so I was slight of build, a smaller man, if you will, smaller boy. I went to Vietnam at 120 pounds. My last time I came back, I was 177 pounds, and certainly in my fighting weight in the middleweights. And so I first took up Taekwondo, did extremely well at it, but I have the wrong body style for it. And after I succeeded in getting my black belt, I then switched to Kenpo. It's more of a Korean style with shorter arms, shorter legs, a combination of flurries, and then excelled at that. And finally discovered Shotokan. And so went through the ranks again and became a black in that. And then I fought competitively as an amateur for years, did some professional bouts by the time I was in my early 20s. And so it was just discipline. I had a fair chance because I was competing against people my same size. And so that weight sizes help. It was a good discipline to learn.
An analogy that you use, though, is business is like a street fight. And reading through A Perfect 10 seems like Dave Liniger had his share of street fights along the way.
Well, unfortunately, my education came from the College of Hard Knocks. It's a great education. It's just expensive. And if you make the wrong moves, you're done. But you find out that scrappy business leaders, small business people, small-time investors, their focus is on the one thing they're doing, which is I'm trying to do this investment or I'm trying to do this small business. And so they don't have to worry about long-term visions and missions, all that sort of thing. You don't have to have a Harvard MBA to start a successful small business if you have the grit and the ambition to make it work. And so it is a street fight out there until you get to be of a big size. Now, I'm quite fortunate due to my experiences. I branched out into a lot of businesses along the way. I did stay with the company. I'm still chairman of the board and realistically the largest shareholder. It's been a passion, but I'm in another 15 or 20 different businesses that are totally have nothing to do with the real estate business, but are very fascinating and exciting to be in.
Cool. So I wanted to ask, so then why this book? Why did you want to share this with the world?
Crystal, a lot of people helped me on the way. I made so many mistakes, and there were so many gracious people out there that reached out, gave me a hand, and said, I'll help you up the hill, buddy. Come on. And so I learned from books. I learned from speakers. I learned from conventions. I learned from taking lessons and everything you could do. But I learned from individuals. And I have been surrounded by some of the top producers in the real estate industry for over 50 years. I started the company. I was a great producer. I couldn't hold a candle to the men and women today that are paying me my living. I mean, these are superstars. We have people doing teams with 1,000 deals a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is my legacy. It is a gift back to the small business person, the person that has their dream. They want a chance to get that golden ring, and they want a chance to prove that they too can amount to something. And this is a lifeline learning. About 25% of his personal experience from building these various businesses. The other 75%, we hired research assistants. We went out, we looked at Google, Apple, Facebook. I mean, everybody that's changed the world like Amazon, and said, what was the leadership requirement for them? What did they do right? What did they do wrong? And then we tried to sprinkle those stories in to make the whole concept of the 10 chapters fascinating. Now, somebody doesn't have to read the whole book. If they want to figure out how can I be a better leader, there's a chapter on leadership. If they want to figure out how can I grow my business, there's a chapter on how to expand and capitalize your business, how to borrow money, how to franchise. And so it is an encyclopedia, if you will, but quite interesting, quite humorous, lots of ups and downs.
Yeah, and I like that you included the part about the women. You know how hard it is for women. There's a whole resource section for women entrepreneurs too. Thank you for that.
Well, Crystal, when we started in 73, women, we only made up about 1 or 2% of the realtors. Before that, it was an old white-haired man's job. And usually they retired from being a civil servant, a teacher, military, police, and then they went into the real estate business. That started changing dramatically as the baby boomers got married, had children, and all of a sudden started getting divorced. And so you had unbelievable number of single college-educated women that had never held a job. They had gone straight from college, became married, had the children, had a husband supporting them, and now they have to find a way to make a living. To put it in perspective for you, the 2 largest companies in Denver, Van Schok and Moore, the best 2 in the country. Average man made $50,000 a year in 1971. The average full-time realtor made $5,000 a year.
Wow.
They did not hire women in sales positions. As I started advertising, I figured these top producers would be the first ones to come to me. Not one of them came in the first 5 years. They all said, wow, what a great idea, but you're awful young, and I'm with a good company, and I'm not going to gamble. And so my first month, interviewed 204 people, signed up 4, and I got 3 that were women because those 3 had interviewed with the 2 top companies and the glass ceiling was there and they didn't get it. By the time we ended up in 5 years, we had 289 men and women in our business. We were number 1 in the state, sales, income, total volume, listings, and my staff was 80% women and multicultural in an all white man's business. In the next year, 300 and some men from the all men company quit their companies and joined my merry band of ladies who had kicked their butts.
I love it.
They saw professionalism and they know where the women were. I mean, both.
Single.
One of those early hires was a woman who ended up becoming president of the company, right, Dave?
That was the success. The secret of my success is I needed an administrative vice president that could own and operate and run the business while I was the sales manager, recruiting, training, and helping them on their calls. I knew I lacked in those abilities. I interviewed 27 people, turned 27 down, and she was the 28th. Trailing spouse, had just gotten married, leaving St. Louis. Husband was going to be at May DNF, and she was looking for something to do for a year or two till she could really find something. And I lied like a rug, man. I told her, I'm going to build the biggest real estate company in history. And if you'll help me do it, and if you'll take a big enough pay cut, we'll make it. And you can run the company someday. And as it was, I ended up with her as a partner for 10 years before we became romantically involved. And then so she's been my partner 10 years and my wife for 41 years. And that's 51 years total of one of the most beautiful partnerships you could ever imagine.
Doesn't sound like you lied about anything in the end there.
Well, I was pretty naive, but hey, dreams come true sometimes.
I know it.
I want to go back earlier because what blew me away, Dave, and this is good, I think, for all of our Deeders to hear when you start out at anything. I was shocked to find out that when you started selling real estate, Dave, you sucked at it. Like you were, what, 6 months and no sales? Tell us about that.
Oh, it was brutal. I was in the Air Force full time, and I was working part time with a Volkswagen in the desert in Scottsdale with a cracked windshield and no air conditioning. Crew cut, I looked like I was 18 years old. I mean, if you're 45 and you meet somebody, they don't question how long have you been in the business. And I had no confidence. 6 months goes by, I quit. I'd already paid for a seminar from a motivational speaker. I went the next day.
I couldn't believe, by the way, if I can cut you off for a second, I couldn't believe when I was reading this story, Dave, your manager, the office said he thought you quit. Like that was just, boy, talk about the wrong thing for a manager to say. But anyway.
Well, I said, why'd you hire me if you knew I was going to quit?
Yeah.
And he says, well, we hire everybody. Everybody's got a mother, a brother, a sister, or a next door neighbor. So part-time is a big deal to us. It costs us nothing. So anyway, I listened to the speaker. He was fabulous. He became one of my best friends, a mentor. That night on the way home, I was lacking confidence, but I stopped and get a bottle of milk for the kids. A young Hispanic girl, very cute little thing, about 19 years old. And she was right there talking to her father. And I said, excuse me, are you talking about real estate? And she says, yes, my father doesn't speak English and he's moving to Albuquerque and we need to sell his house, but we don't know how. And I said, Senor, do you know what a real estate commission is? He shook his head at me and he said, no, lo comprende, or whatever he said. And I said, do you know what title insurance is? And she looked at me and says, I'm sorry, we don't know any of that. And I said, you need me. I'm a professional realtor. I followed him home, listed the property, 2 full price offers in 2 hours, sold it, woke up in bed with my wife the next day. And I yelled at her, hey, wake up. And she said, what? And I said, you're sleeping with one mighty fine realtor. 100% of my listings have sold for full price in less than 2 hours.
Wow. That's
They
100%
referred me
of one.
I took the girl and her fiance out and sold them a house that next day.
Wow.
They referred me to 3 other couples. At the end of 48 hours, I had 4 sales. They were all Hispanic, and I had 1 listing sold. It was amazing. The women kissed me and hugged me, and the men clapped me on the back and shook hands and said, man, we never thought we'd ever have a house. At my age, my parents didn't get a house till they were 40. And so I guess it was then. I forgot all about not having confidence. The next person I talked to, maybe they were white, I don't remember. It was, how much experience have you got? And I said, well, made 5 sales in the last 2 days. That's more than the average salesman makes in a year. And it was done.
That's all they need to know. I love this idea that it's confidence, but that confidence came from finding mentorship, I feel like. I mean, about somebody believing in you and taking you under their wing. I got this feeling as I was reading Perfect 10, Dave, that that's kind of the genesis a little bit of the REMAX concept, this team concept, that we'll have somebody who's the rainmaker who kind of is really a mentor to a lot of people in their group, I got to believe.
Sure. The rainmaker's been around 10, 20 years. They've got abundant leads. They got past customers. They got a reputation. They're established. They can bring some younger people in and say, the hardest thing for you to do is find good leads. I can provide the leads and we'll continue your training. And with enough leads, you can make money. And so mentoring in any business is incredibly important. The difficulty is finding a mentor that's worthwhile. And for the mentor, it's very difficult to get somebody to pay attention. I don't know how many people I've mentored and they nod their head, say all the right things, they walk out, you never hear from them again. And then occasionally you find the one that takes copious notes, calls back in 2 days and say, hey, I tried this and this and this, and this is what happened. What else could you advise me on?
You mentioned your time in Vietnam. By the way, thank you for your service. My dad also served in Vietnam. What did you learn from the service in your time as a military member?
First thing is I learned discipline. If you're assigned a time to be someplace, and if you're not, you don't get fired. You get thrown in the brig, or you get the worst duty on the base that there is. And so it's just expected. If you have a meeting at 9 o'clock, 8:45 is on time, 9 is late. And so you start getting the discipline of the way you dress, the way you behave, the way you interact with other people. You have to build teams. The military is totally all about teamwork. It's nothing about people doing things by themselves. I got to observe real leadership, and I got to observe brilliant leadership, and I saw the dumb ones too. And once you get some common sense, you can say, boy, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're doing. You can't say it to their face, but you know it. And then you see the one that is totally a leader, and you'll follow that person to hell and back. So it gave me the time to mature, develop some leadership. Courage comes from confidence. Confidence comes from experience. And so you can take, as a matter of fact, I looked at Crystal's background. You can go through lots of different types of things, but if you take something from each one of those business ventures that you're in, you become a well-rounded, super successful entrepreneur at some time.
Thank you. So
Crystal, you were worried about AI. Let's ask about AI.
Oh, yeah. You do mention that and how it's used for a lot of like marketing and things like that. And people that aren't embracing it, they're going to fall behind. So how have you guys incorporated it?
Well, you can't do today's work with yesterday's methods and expect to be in business tomorrow. And so AI is just an extension of technology. It gives you the way to measure what's making sales happen, what's making sales fall apart. We are an information age. Real estate agents are really trusted advisors. The person's putting their finances and their life in our hand because they say, this is the first house I bought. I don't want to make any mistakes. And you're able to say, well, I've done over 200 homes. And so I think I can help you there because we've seen everything that you can see. Artificial intelligence is giving you the ability to take a broad, quick look. For instance, 55 years ago, the listing page that you signed a listing with was one page. Today it's 30 or 40. The purchase contract used to be one page. Today it's 30 or 40. We've never heard of. Have you done a search in the police records? Are there any child molesters in the neighborhood? Have you keyed in and looked at a map and showed them before you show them this house? Oh, by the way, there's a child molester with a restraining order against him 2 doors down. And if you don't know that, you're derelict in your duties. You're supposed to look out for your customer. And so artificial intelligence helps in this engagement of what are all the facts and figures that I need to know. I can give you an example.
Oh, no, please do.
I have a friend in Scottsdale, and she found a house that she wanted. It was summer. She only looked at it during the daytime, and it was a nice, quiet neighborhood. And the day she moved in, she found out that when the sun went down, the basketballs and the beer bottles came out, and every single front lawn was taken up with lawn chairs, and people playing cards and smoking cigars, and kids playing basketball and throwing the football, raising hell until midnight or so. Oh. Somebody should have told her, why don't you look at that place at nighttime besides daytime? And artificial intelligence would have picked up on that. If the information you put into it is what brings you out the information you want. And you have to look at it from the homeowner's point of view. What's the homeowner want in this house? What's he want in the neighborhood?
A lot of times from brand new people in real estate, the first question we get, and I know you've had much more than we've had, is about money. And there's a theme that resonates throughout this book, Dave, that for you, it has never been about the money. And you're clear about this. You want to make money. You made good money. You made sure that you made money, but it wasn't about the money. Can you define then, if it's not about the money, what our deeders should really be looking for from their entrepreneurship journey?
The example I gave you of my first 4 or 5 customers, they were Hispanic. I was just a white boy that I had a lot of Hispanic friends in the military. I didn't think there was any such thing as prejudice. Obviously there is. What I learned from them was the joy of selling, the satisfaction, not of the paycheck, the satisfaction of a woman who hugs you and cries and said, I never thought I'd own my own home. And the man being macho, clapping you on the back and shaking hands and saying, hey, bro, let's have a beer. I'm so excited. Thank you for helping me. I'm a homeowner. And all of a sudden, I didn't look at real estate as a business to make money in. It was, I'm going to help families. Now that sounds, maybe. It sincerely is what I felt.
It's a vocation.
Yeah. So when I started REMAX, I wanted to improve the lives of real estate agents. And real estate agents were basically on a 50-50 split on all their commissions.
Or less.
So if you run your own business, maintain your expenses low enough, you're on an 85-15 split. So we put together a concept in REMAX of being a co-op. Put 20 good producers together, share the expenses of running the operation, pay your own advertising and PR, and keep the whole thing for yourself. It was very controversial, angered the industry as brokers go, because, oh my God, if it works, I'm going to have to pay my top people better. And so it did work. It changed the industry forever. There's no such thing as 50-50 commissions, and everybody's on a sliding scale, 70-30, 80-20s, 90-10s, whatever it might be. So the purpose of the book was, my cause was not to make money. My cause was to help real estate agents find a better lifestyle.
It's so, how many times, Crystal, from our successful mentors on the people, you help people get what they want, you get what you want. It's pretty amazing. The book is called The Perfect 10, and Dave, I think it's available everywhere, right?
It certainly is. Amazon, bookstores, airports. We're pretty excited. It's a 2-year project in the making. I have the fabulous co-author, Laura Morton. She's already written 20-some bestsellers.
Oh, man,
And,
just starting out, you're saying.
She helped me with my first bestseller 12 years ago. So a great relationship.
That's fabulous.
Wonderful.
And we'll link to it in our show notes,
Yes.
Crystal at stackingdeeds.net.
Yes. Well, thank you, Dave. The pleasure has been all ours. Speaking for both of us, like this was awesome.
Thank you, Crystal. If I can ever help you or Joe, just let me know and I'll be glad to meet with you.
Yes, I will reach out. Definitely.
Thanks, guys.
Big thanks to Dave.
Yes.
Big thanks to
Yeah,
Dave.
that's a huge, I don't know how you pulled that one, but I appreciate that.
Crystal, what's your biggest takeaway from Dave?
Well, Dave is the mentorship. I cannot tell you how many times like people drop the ball for having a mentor, or they just think that the mentor is going to do everything for them. I really appreciate how approachable he is, and it's a mentorship piece, and he's just so humble. Like, he built this massively huge great thing, and he took the chance, giving the 100% commission back to the realtors, and people told him it wouldn't work, but he's just so down to earth and approachable.
How many times have we heard from the people that come on the show, the super successful people, just the value of communication and learning how to communicate? Like, remember when Randy was here, Randy talked about paying to get into that class to be with great people. What did Dave just tell us? When he was failing out of real estate, took these classes on being a better communicator and communicating sales. And I don't know that he would have been any good had he not done that and then been in that line with the daughter and dad and identified that they needed real estate help.
Like, you need me and I can help you.
Yes. So he sells the dad, he sells the daughter, and he's off and running then.
And that was also a community that was one of the ignored communities too back in the day. And then what did they do? They spread the word because they had such a great experience with him. And at that point, you're not even looking for business. Business is coming to you.
How many times have you seen people failing from a mile away? I'm thinking of a couple people I know that failed in real estate.
All right, I'm taking the hint, Joe. Jeez.
Present company excluded.
And it was communication. It was purely communication. And in one case, it was just a lack of hustle, that you have to hustle. And that's the other thing you learn from Dave, is I mean, he was out there working, Crystal.
Yeah, a lot. It goes back to the numbers game too.
Yeah.
That definitely goes back to numbers game. A friend of mine too, like when she was looking for a job, she was faxing 80 back in the days of fax. She was faxing 80 resumes per day. No wonder she found another job fairly quickly. But other people, what do? Sit, mope because of a failure? No, you got to keep going. You got to keep moving, or else you're going to sink deeper and deeper.
He definitely is about what you do. It is about what you do.
That was great.
Hey, guess what? We did not get a call. People can call Ruth Rotary. And how do they do that, Crystal?
Head to stackingdeeds.net/voicemail. End of sentence. There's no workaround anymore. It works.
But we put enough duct tape on it. It finally works. But we do have another question, this time from Aimsley.
Yes. So This week's question is what you just said is from Aimsley. Hi, Joe and Crystal and Doug. She included Doug. How sweet,
What?
Aimsley. Yes, she did. All right.
Nice.
I've been listening to the show for several months now, and it has been very helpful and informative. Thank you for the kudos. All right. I am an aspiring real estate investor, and I have heard about the ability to buy real estate with low to no money down. But whenever I hear this, there tends to be a caveat to avoid. Over leveraging. Can you explain what over leveraging is, how it happens, and what are the potential pitfalls?
It's a great question, Aimsley, because the reason why real estate is such an attractive place to invest is because you can use other people's money. So you can leverage a $200,000 property with $20,000.
Yep.
You can take $20,000 and make a $200,000 investment. When that goes up, your $20,000 doesn't go up. The entire $200,000 goes up. And so you get these outsized returns on a much smaller downstroke. And in some cases, people talk, to your point, people talk about having no money down, using completely somebody else's money, using, as we mentioned, we are in the process of looking for that perfect person to come in and talk about different financing options. And we're going to be diving into that a lot here in the near future. But you can use other people's money, taking on investors, looking at hard money lending, people that will seller financing, where the seller fronts you the money to buy their property, and then you just pay them from the cash flow off of the loan. There's all kinds of ways to do that. But here's what over leveraging is. When you do these 100% financing deals, you do these big deals, and then the outcome ends up being so low. In other words, the rent that comes in is so low that you struggle to cover those payments. You didn't get the math right, and now you are over leveraged and you quickly get in trouble. If you've got to take money from your primary job to pay the difference in rent because you did the math wrong, or because you thought that the location was a good idea, ends up, Crystal, working against people so often when they take out more money than the rent brings in.
Right. And another tried and true question you're going to see on Facebook or social media all the time is, what would you do with $100,000? Or, would you take a perfect credit score versus, $100,000? So if you had $100,000, you can put 10% down on, how many is that? 10 properties, $10,000. So that's where the leverage piece comes in too. So you just took $100,000, you put 10% down on 10 properties, and now it's worth what?
$1
million. So now you're technically $1 million in debt from only, that $100,000. To me, it's a good thing, because instead of going out to spend $100,000, you leveraged it to now your net worth is $1 million. Well, not net worth, but your
assets.
Yeah, your assets are $1 million, and now you're bringing in income, but that's a lot to manage. And so you're getting the math right too, because if something goes wrong with one of those 10, yes, you have diversification, or something can go good, but things can go wrong because if you're over leveraged and one of those pieces of that puzzle comes crashing down, that's when the over leveraged part comes in, because you don't have the money to cover the monthly payment for all 10.
If you go back to our first episode of the year with Suni Rao, and she talks about how to evaluate a good deal. In fact, that is the title of the episode, How to Evaluate a Good Deal, on January 2nd of this year. What you'll hear is that Suni does not advocate just the rent covering the price tag on the property, but you also need money for maintenance. You want to have some take-home money, some money going into your pocket. You need money for long-term improvements. So short-term maintenance money, long-term maintenance money. You also need money coming in. So there's got to be a difference between that money coming in and money coming out. We see people get over leveraged because you forget about the fact that this place is going to need a new roof. And then when roof time comes, you're taking $15,000 out of your pocket instead of taking it from this fund that you built up specifically for this.
Yeah, insurance. Oh gosh, that's been going up lately.
Yeah, there is a bunch of math, and Suni goes over all the math back at the beginning of the year. And so I highly recommend going back, Aimsley, and listening to that episode to get a good deal and not be over leveraged. Over leveraged is just too much debt and the money coming in doesn't support it. Now, if you're a flipper, it's a different thing. If you're flipping property, being over leveraged happens when you calculate the fact that you're going to hold on to this for 3, 4, 6 months while you're fixing the property up and reselling it, but the property doesn't sell. And for this, if people go back to last week's episode where, Crystal, we talked about celebrities buying high-end housing, Taylor Swift buying properties in Manhattan. If you're buying $1 million, bajillion-dollar properties, you know, it's funny. I started saying $1 million properties and then I realized $1 million in a lot of places doesn't buy much property.
That sucks too.
$1 million in La Jolla buys you 800 square feet, right? So a bajillion-dollar property, but you buy these high-end properties and people can just go build their own. Like, it's hard to flip a luxury house.
Yeah.
Much easier to flip something in a blue-collar neighborhood where people always need a house. And it's going to be based on employment in the area, much more than some person with a high net worth or high income levels taste. So over leverage happens in flipping when you end up carrying the property for way longer than you thought because it didn't flip.
Right. The market's not a time to buy. Now you're underwater. And also going back to the $100,000 example, going back to that celebrity example, because then some people too, if they got that 100,000, they would just buy the one property and then you're leveraged to the tills. At least if you get the 10, you have, again, that diversification where, you know, you have a lot of instances where, you know, something's going right in one of those 10, but that one, if something goes wrong on that one, you are royally screwed.
Hold on. I can't let this go. Did you just say leveraged to the tills?
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know what that means.
I've never heard that.
You've never heard that?
To the hilt?
To the hilt?
To the hilt.
To the hilt or the gills?
To the hilt.
To the gills.
Yeah,
Oh.
like,
Or to the hilt.
I don't know what any of those are either.
I didn't know it.
leverage
To your gills. So if you're a fish, your gills, you could barely breathe because no.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the analogy there. We need to dive deep into this.
To the
This is where we
tills.
need to spend our time.
Well, because the till is a cash register. So you're leveraged to the cash register.
Never heard that. You just
I
made
made
that
it
up.
up.
Nice save is what I got to say right there. Nice
Thank
save.
you. Thank you.
Can we go back to whether SNL's funny?
Use your context clues.
Aimsley, thanks for the question.
Yes,
if people
thank
want
you.
to call in and call this rotary phone we got as we ride around Texarkana, where do people call?
Yes, head to stackingdeeds.net/voicemail. And don't worry, Ruth does not text or talk on the rotary while driving. We're the ones that answer the phone.
Coming up next week, we're going to talk to people. Speaking of short-term rentals, we're going to talk to a Canadian couple living in a town that they didn't think they had short-term rental or midterm rental opportunities. So we're going to dive more into what our headline was this week, Airbnb stuff, and next week's show. Great couple that we're going to
lots
talk
of great
to.
tips. Lots of great tips are coming your way, as usual.
If people want the show notes, because we talked about a lot of different stuff, Crystal, how do we get the show notes delivered fresh right to our inbox? Say it ain't so.
Yes. You unwrap it like an Amazon package every week. So you had to, I'm going to add a gift box emoji on there. What?
Virtually
Doug?
unwrapping.
So head to stackingdeeds.net/show notes. And we are growing too. I think we're almost at 150 subscribers for our show notes. Where's our applause?
Hey, hold
hit
on.
the button.
It is
broken. Cooper. Get Cooper to hit
not
it.
that one. Which button?
I love
See,
how
I gotta find
Joe's been doing this like 12 years and he refuses to label the buttons.
No, the problem is I've got buttons for Instagram Live, and I just did Instagram Live yesterday, and I have separate buttons for Stacking Benjamins and Stacking Deeds, and I'm on the wrong one. So it's funny, that should have been the applause button, but if I'm doing an Instagram Live, it's our headline music button.
Oh,
Cheryl tells me you've got other buttons that are definitely labeled.
And for Stacking Benjamins, I don't know why it's in a different place, but for Stacking Benjamins, it's our pride for our stacker and deeder community. When somebody calls in and they're really getting deep in it, we give them this shout out.
Yes.
So that's like the ultimate compliment.
It's an ultimate compliment.
It is. Well, remember, like for bullies, you'd be like, listen, some nerd's going to pay your salary someday. Take that, bully.
We're so far off it again.
I know.
And Crystal, when that nerd brushes up against you in a bar, how do you spot that that's the guy that you should latch onto?
We weren't even recording when we had that conversation.
Oh, we weren't?
And now
Yes,
we have it
were.
on the record.
Oh, that's funny. We were.
We were
Yeah,
recording.
Oh, yeah.
that was our good morning.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's how long
It's
this
here.
episode's been.
Yes, it's here.
All right. What I wanted to go back to was the whole idea of the gift wrapper. Because you know, Doug, that if Crystal truly sent out not virtual show notes, but real show notes, like, can you imagine how that
Oh,
would look?
They'd be cute.
It'd be in like this foil wrap with a nice,
Oh, yeah.
beautiful bow.
Yeah, I have the cutest stickers.
If Doug or I were tasked with sending it out, we'd like throw it at you.
Duct tape and newspaper.
Yeah, there would be stains from yesterday's lunch. Like on the
Cup
edge of
rings
it.
too. A cup ring or two.
Guys, gotta be, yeah, a coffee cup ring.
That's how
There's
my kids figured out Christmas and Santa weren't real, or Santa, not Christmas. But they're
Whoa,
like,
hey, what the hell are you doing now?
Earmuffs,
What are
kids,
you
earmuffs.
talking
Oh
about?
no!
But-
Spoiler alert!
Hold on a second, Ivy. You got to take all that out.
Spoiler alert!
It's because of the way I
Keep
wrap
it in.
gifts.
Keep it in.
Yeah, no, you can't keep that in.
That is so funny.
That is some. You just ruined some kid sitting in a back seat somewhere. You just ruined his entire.
Now
existence.
the parent hasn't heard the whole rest of the episode because they're just like, no, don't listen to them. It's a comedy show. Nothing they say is real.
Right. It's untrue. What we just said is totally not true.
What Doug meant to say was, you can see why Santa doesn't come to his house
Anymore. There you go.
Never did.
How about I tell everybody what we should do based on what we learned today, Joe? And
What, we're going to do that already? Already. We're going to do
This is
that.
the part I hate.
What?
Why do you hate it? Just,
Because we say goodbye for
Oh.
this week.
Crystal, we love you.
Yeah. Well, send us your address if you want a handwritten show notes.
No.
People don't write notes anymore.
Doug, what are our takeaways?
Well, Joe and Crystal, first, take some advice from Dave Liniger. Real estate success involves learning skills, and those skills can be learned. Even if you don't know how to fix a toilet or use pricing software, you can learn all of these things and more. Push yourself to learn one new skill each week, and soon you'll be an all-around pro. Second, take some advice from our headline, Going the Airbnb Route. How can you make your property stand out? Maybe avoid the cliche artwork and tired look. That'll help pop your rental calendar. But the big lesson? I just caught up with the good doctor who was my wrestling coach by Googling him. He now lives on a private island. I knew he was going to be successful. It's called Rikers. That guy was a baller. It's amazing. Thanks to Dave Liniger for joining us today. You can find Dave's new book, Perfect 10, wherever books are sold, or you can find out more at daveliniger.com. I'll assume you can spell Dave, but Liniger is, well, actually, I'll do it for you. D-A-V-E, not the weird way with the P and the H. D-A-V-E, and Liniger is L-I-N-I-G-E-R. We'll also include links in our show notes at stackingdeeds.net.